each of us are here in this present moment. And all that we've experienced and all that we have done, adjustments we have made, stumbles that we have made, has brought us to this moment in time. And we are here with appreciation for being here, for having the connections that we have made both here on the planet and beyond in the unseen. And we know that we are aligned to a plan designed to take us beyond the entrapment that has been our lot, with perfect guidance, support, and love, into that vibrational field that resonates as harmonics of our home, of our divine star families, and of our true purpose for this life. So as we gather in this space, we invite our spiritual teams, those that are most appropriate for us for this experience together, to be here with us, to bring the information, creativity, the tenacity, to have total integrity to that which is our highest good and our highest experience within that plan of taking back our lives, our divine star families, and our earth. We meet within the sacred ground of sovereignty, totally encased in the flame of the Guardian Circle Protocol, foundationed on the triad of the sacred goddess of Gaia, Sophia, and Grace, coming into alignment to the sacred masculine as it is coming together in its own wholeness. So we are here to share, to learn, to expand, and walk upright into what we are being called to. So we ask that those who are from the unseen be here with us closely. We give them permission to participate in this class with us and declare the space prepared with that intention. And so it is. Okay, so I'm going to let's take the opportunity to place ourselves into the circle, your name, where you are on the planet, and what quality or value you would like to add to the circle. And we'll start with Emma, and then, of course, Spirit, and then me, because there's just the three of us. So thanks, Emma, for beginning.
Sure.
And let's take, like, use that protocol that once we speak into the circle who you are and what you're adding, then the next person just count to 5 for this one, and then speak your truth, and then so just take a 5-minute pause or 5-second pause. Emma.
Okay. Hello, I'm so happy to see your faces. Emma in Williamstown, Massachusetts, and it is a wintry evening. It's funny, I can already sense the light returning in terms of the 1 or 2 or 3 minutes longer of the day. So I offer the circle light. And spirit.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here today. I'm in New Jersey. I think it's cold, but I stayed inside all day and just cut my heat on to fool myself, thinking it's a summer day. And it feels good to be here. And I'm bringing into the circle peace and love. Thank you.
Okay, Sharon Raji Maynard here on Whidbey Island, Washington State. It's been crisp and then overcast, which is also beautiful. And I'm going to bring into our circle, introspection, evaluation. So here we are. So this is the last of our 4-week classes for the Tuesday group. The videos will be up throughout this whole 2021, so you'll have access to them anytime you want to. The whole purpose for me doing this basic 101 class for Galactic Information is that I realized that we have been trying to build our world on false concepts, and wondering why it doesn't work. Or we have been trying to build our life on concepts that are 10% light and 90% corrupted, so we can't do that any longer if we want to change our world, just our own personal world, much less the world. And so for me, the galactic information that came as I asked questions, that gave an idea of our star families, why we began this journey, how we began it, what happened to us along the way in those 7 worlds before Earth, was critical to know because they impact our life here. And if you don't know about them, you don't know why you keep tripping up. I had a client today, and she has so wanted to be in a relationship, a personal relationship, long-term relationship. And as we looked at the possibility for that, one of the major problems for her is that in the galactic world, meaning in the world number 4th, it was the 4th world. In that world, she had made contracts with a collective group, so it wasn't her alone. So she had made contracts to keep her to squeeze down the frequency that we call love. Now I'm going to just share this. A lot of this is kind of like reminders maybe of what we've gone through. So here we have our Earth experience, and we've tried to make sense of how our life ought to be, what we think we are, why we think we're here, all down in this 8th world. And my guide said, you're missing the boat. You'll never get things corrected by just having this view. You've got to understand the entire 8 worlds. I'm not talking dimensions here, I'm talking worlds. In every one of those worlds are 8 dimensions or ranges of frequencies. So in the total galactic experience, we have gone through 64 regions of energies. And this particular client right here in the 4th world had been involved with a collective, because we are collective mind. So there could be 5 million or more consciousnesses of which she is just one. And together they made a contract that says for our own survival, we're going to turn down some of our energy flow so that we're not so attractive to the outsiders. Because if we aren't juicy, they're going to leave us alone. So the particular harmonic that group shut down was the vibration that down here on the earth we call generosity and love and heart. So they were allowing like 10% of that energy to flow down from that point on. So what she would have been and did experience here is that she, like 10% of the time, she'd get a glimmer of what love was like. Somebody might give her a hug, or they might call her beautiful, and then it would be gone. And she couldn't figure out, because she was using her tools. It wasn't until, you get up into these worlds, and in every one of those dimensions, there can be something remaining that trips us up in our earth experience. So it's like having a lock and a whole bunch of keys, and we're trying to figure out what key unlocks the lock. And if we don't have the right key, the lock will not open. She didn't have the right key to open the lock to begin even laying the foundation. Now she had to begin all over again with the reality statements, laying the foundation, calling for a long-term relationship of love and generosity and respect, because energy was now available to begin coming to her in a more full way. You see, so that's just one example of why for me, the galactic information is critical, especially in the world we're living today, because we've lived with half-truths, partial truths, and this is where we've ended up. And so I wanted to have a beginning place where people to begin to touch in about the galactic history and the importance of it, because next year, starting in 2011, I'm going to have regular conversations to share more of the story. Like I don't know if you guys remember, there was a fellow on the radio, and he says, now we're going to tell you the rest of the story. And it was always the rest of the story was his tagline. And that's kind of, the rest of the story is what I'm holding to unfold next year. So we've got spirit's experience on the table, and I want to talk about that from a galactic perspective. And that's why I want to have a space to do that right now. So let's start with spirit's experience. So we are in an organically evolving situation, meaning that what I knew, I'm just using myself as an example, what I knew a year ago is still valid. But mass consciousness has changed. People have awakened. They are looking around and they're going like, we are in deep doo-doo, and I'm in a lot of pain. And they are receptive in a way they weren't receptive a year and a half ago. So mass consciousness has changed. The masses have changed. Some of them are in greater and greater pain. Some of them are in greater confusion. But very few of them have been able to stay in denial, oh no, all is fine, So so we have people massively in a very different place, which can call forth from that greater field of unseen more information. Does that make sense? It's like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so when the students get ready, those of us who have determined that we will be a channel for teaching, a channel for mentoring, a channel for encouraging, more information's coming through that we didn't need a year ago, that I didn't need a year ago, because nobody was ready for it. Nobody was dealing with that. Okay. And there's many examples. I could give you many examples just within the last 2 months of where that is happening. But I'm going to speak to what you just spoke of, because in one of our circles, one of the women was working in a passion that she has, which is working to free the children from sex trafficking patterns. And she had really been feeling called to do that energetically for the last, this is the 3rd week. So she got up and she's sitting and she's doing her work. And she says she feels like she's inside an ET and looking out of the ET's eyes. And then the ET's eyes closed and she was trapped. And she was trapped in this situation that she wasn't sure what that was, but definitely about being attacked, but not just attacked, entrapped. And she has lots of tools like you do, like Emma does, like I do. And she worked with them. It was like really, really, really taking a lot of energy from her. I mean, she took a lot of effort. And so when we were in conversation, she said, I don't know if I even should be here, because I'm still feeling so entrapped. And so we checked it out. I said, no. Then what my team said, no, this is exactly where she should be. Okay. She had used all the tools she knew. She hadn't been able to free herself, but she was now in a situation with someone else. So we quietly did our own thing. And so what I did is take what is going on, not from the perspective of Earth, early childhood, have to hide, have to turn down our light, because that's how we used to survive. We used to have to hide to survive. We used to have to pretend we were somebody different to survive. So I'm not looking from the Earth up, I'm looking from galactic down. And I'm saying, what is in, because here she is, divine family, here's the light. Where is there the entrapment possibility? So they took me back to her in an earlier lifetime, and that voice, like you felt that bow down to me voice, that voice said to me, we own her. She was sold to us and we own her. And we've owned her in many lifetimes. And we've owned her before Earth. So we own her. Don't even think about freeing her. And what voice was that but an outsider voice? This was not a shadow of our divine self, an outsider voice. And that's what I think you've encountered, saying we own her. And I said, wrong. And why did I say wrong? Because I know the work we have done to free and empower the woman's voice of authority to say, you are not of the light, therefore you cannot be here. I know that. And they said, well, what do we care? So I said, I turned again, knowing the galactic information, I said, well, I'll just bring in the bigger guns. And I called in the Galactic Council Collective, a whole new group about a year ago. So these are the powers from other galactic families that I know exist that have said this agenda cannot exist anywhere in the galaxies, anywhere in our, what we call Laniakea. It cannot even exist. So they're in total support of what I was saying. So I said to my team, what do we need to do then to free, this ownership, to release the ownership? They said, this soul had been sold by a father, a turncoat father had sold this soul into captivity by outsiders, and they had taken her as a part of her soul energy and moved her into their world. They had kidnapped her into their world. So there was an aspect of her soul that existed here in our earth, but there was also a part of her soul that was anchored into a minus world of the outsiders. And they've done that with many of our soul families. The Anasazi, some of the Anasazi tribes were kidnapped literally and taken by ship to the negative world. We've gone there and restored them, brought them back. So here was this little child, showing as a little child, kidnapped with other children, size children who had been kidnapped, who were being held hostage in the negative regions. But because of the galactic work of restoring the authority voice that we have as females, by understanding the Galactic Council is on board, that it can't even exist, by knowing that, I was able to stand, gather up the kidnapped, bring them back to a space, a platform space for them to be healed back to their harmonic. Freeing then that cracking, the entrapment could not exist, but it could not, we by using even the most powerful things we knew, that particular client couldn't break the entrapment. We had to understand this other experience, and that's all coming because we have awareness of galactic teams, galactic worlds, injuries that were done there to free us. So how does that apply to you, Spirit? What I would suggest is that here's this experience, and here's this voice that says, bow down to me. And you're going like, I'm a goddess, I don't bow down to anyone. But then turning to your guides and say, why is it that this entity believes I have to bow down? What is it? And it might be that kidnapped energy, but there is a reason why this voice thinks you have to bow down, and you're being shown that piece of entrapment because you're ready to break free and do things in a bigger way than you were last week. You see what I'm saying? There's messages in all the situations that come to us, and we can never, I don't think we can ever ask too many times, is there any more messages in that situation? Is there any more messages in that situation? Because because it's only there. Manifestation is there to give us a message. Is it fruit that's going to expand us? Is it fruit that's going to destroy us? That's why manifestation is there. And this is clearly a fruit that wants to bow you down. And so you did exactly what you needed to do. You listened, you followed, what you felt to do. But now there's another bit of awareness that you're getting that may give you an opportunity to ask a deeper question. And if we need to do something, I'm totally available for that too.
Okay, I will be willing to take you up on it to get to the heart of the matter, so I'm not guessing. I know we'll do that at a different time, probably after the new year, because I know this is the holiday. And I'm just going to throw in, I was up watching TV a couple of nights ago on my laptop, and I get messages through movies. Spirit speaks to me through a lot of movies. And I saw this cartoon Pixar movie that was being advertised called Soul that popped up on this free movie thing, that app that I have. And I watched the movie Soul. And it's a Pixar movie. And it's basically about like souls being trapped. So because of what you're saying, I know I was like, why am I watching this movie? It even, a part of the movie, I couldn't remember the end of it. And I'm normally good at remembering the end of it because I know it's a message, but I wasn't supposed to remember the end of it. It was supposed to be for me to come to you and hear this story of that movie. So because it was a soul that no matter how many tries, it couldn't cross over. It couldn't yeah.
Right. So here we are, and the way organic happens is by being together, at least periodically, because it's in our conversations, and you share something and I go like, oh my gosh, and I share something and you say, oh my gosh. So, so for me, having a way to be together in a teaching situation for the year, and a teaching situation in which the intention in this particular model will be the intention for me to share as much as I possibly can from a galactic perspective, because there's other places we will be where you will share what you know, and I will share what I know, and Emma will share what she knows, and then in a collaborative way we pull our information together to create a more powerful model. That's what we did in Women Remaking the World. But this will be, what I'm putting together. It will be a year-long getting together and having these kind of conversations, all designed to bring up and understand and work with the galactic information in the plan of freeing ourselves more deeply, but in the freeing of our individual selves more deeply, freeing humanity and life forms more deeply. So that was the purpose of this, and it remains the purpose of this class.
Which to me gets to the heart of the matter of everything that's going on, which this is so needed. This is needed. And I'm so grateful to be here, because no matter how many tools, like you said, with that onion layer, with the onion, and get into the heart of the matter of, okay, this is where we started. We need to go to the horse, or what, I don't know what saying to say, but we need to go to the root of it and just expunge it.
Yeah. And I can tell you that just, in this last year, in the last few months, there are some changes that are happening that are doing that. I mean, we are living in that time, and to be able to live it together, sharing it together, there's nothing to compare to that. Yeah. So Emma, do you have anything you want to put on the table?
I've been in a really, I don't want to say withdrawn, but very quiet space. My dreams are becoming very, very vivid. I'm not quite remembering them when I wake up. I've got this odd sleep pattern going on because my neighbors have, there's a lot of noise that happens between the time I turn off my light and 2 or 3 in the morning. And so, which in no way stops Sadie from sleeping. And so she needs to get up, early in the morning for her business. And I then go back to sleep for 2 or 3 more hours
Yeah.
And so everything is just kind of rattled and
Mhm.
out of sync.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of realizing that I'm still doing a lot of healing. No, she's being weird. Sadie, Sadie, get out of there. Come on over here, puppy. Come to me, please. Good girl. Come on over here. I don't know. I feel like I'm waiting to birth, and I don't know what it is. And oh right, healing from a lot of the past couple of years have been very intense, and I was working with a therapist for a little while, and I fired her because she just wasn't really all that smart. And I said, I really feel like I've got it from a psychological level, like psychologically, sociologically, all those things. I got it. I understand. I understand what happened. I understand how it impacted me. I understand how it kind of can throw my thinking train off the track and all of that. But what I need is a spiritual director, not a therapist. And so, but it was nice to have my experience affirmed by a professional, right? To say, yeah, that really was an incredibly abusive situation. And these circumstances happened through no direct fault of your own, and then that's where it stays with a psychologist, because they don't go into then this whole law of manifestation and saying, well, it's in my energy field, so I keep bringing it in. And she'd be like, well, what do you think about that? Right? So it wasn't, it was not helpful from that perspective. But I think that a lot of what I'm doing right now is healing and coming back to center. And, and I know that as physical challenges show up, which they are, it's just like Sharon said, it's just this opportunity to say, okay, well, where is that coming from, and where is it leading me, and what needs to be addressed? So that's kind of where I am. It just, I don't necessarily want to say I'm sleeping a lot, but I'm wanting to sleep a lot. It's right. It's like it's hibernation season, and the blankets are super warm. In spirit, I don't turn the heat on because I don't really like being in a hot room. But I really, it's like, I probably keep it around 60 in here, which is perfectly comfortable for me. And so, oh yeah, that's like much more than that, and it's hot. But then to go out and it's like, 24 with a wind chill factor of 12. And Sadie's like, let's go for a long walk. Can we go for a long walk, Mom? So it's kind of, but I haven't really had almost any interactions with my family. Very minimal, peaceful interactions with friends. And it's just like kind of like you were saying, Spirit, like instead of movies, for me, like the messages come through books, and it's sort of like all of a sudden I'll have this urge to read a new author who I've never read before, and everything that's happening in that book is so relevant to things that I'm trying to understand right now. So that's where I am. That's my weather report, Sharon.
Yeah, that's good. I know for me, I think it was about a month ago, and what was flashed for me was this concept people kept saying, but there's a plan. It's like, don't worry about it, there's a plan. Don't worry about it, there's a plan. And I'm going like, but there's thousands of plans out there floating around in the world. And so to me, it's like, that's a very dangerous thing to say. It's like, there's a plan, which basically they were saying, and I'm on board that plan. Well, who knew what the plan was that they were on board with? And so I said, okay, I'm going to define the plan that I'm on board with. And that's why for me, it's like, I'm on board the plan that says we are here on this planet to identify outsider energy at any level and have it absolutely removed until it's extinct. And have then the opportunity to build with our creativity, with our joy, with our beauty, stable, abundant, thriving lives. So I determined the plan. And so now I can say to myself, if I have an idea, are you of the plan? You know, because ideas, what I found out for myself is I could say an idea come, and I have ideas that they're just like nonstop, have been nonstop. Oh, this idea, and then, you know, there's a lot of things to create. And so saying to the idea, are you of the light? I began to understand that sometimes it was like a Trojan horse. It was a good idea, but it looked good, but behind it, the motivation was to slow me down or to divert me. You see, so I started saying to ideas, are you of the light? And then beyond that, are you of the plan? You know, and it reminds me of what you were talking about with this fellow Ralph Smart. It reminds me of what I've done in astrology before, because in astrology, even the one we've just gone through, the astrological configuration of Saturn conjunct or coming together with Jupiter. So the planet of expansion, Jupiter, of structure, Saturn, which could also be limits, in the energy that says, try something new, think outside the box. That's great energy, isn't it? And then you've got Pluto over here squaring it, say, but do you have the willpower? Do you have the tenacity to let go of what you need to let go of in order to build outside the box? See, so that's the energy. It's just like, here are the colors, and it's on, you know, on my palette. It's not a picture. And very, very often we let others paint the picture of those energies for us. And it's wonderful to be able to say, these are the colors. Like I just gave you the colors: expansion, new structures, break break limits, think outside the box, bring in your tenacity and your willingness to work hard, and let go of what doesn't work. Those are the colors. Now, how are you going to write that into a statement? How are you going to write that into a story? You see, that's what we can do. Or we can just say, oh, well, they're here and I'm just going to be floating around with them. We can do that too. It's always a choice. But I suggest that you look at what you might hear from people like Ralph Smart and say, evidently, there's going to be some upheavals going on. Evidently, there's going to be some ups and downs going on. How would I want to move through a challenging time? And then say, I move through challenges, through chaos, through letting go, with strong, clear connection to my guides. And I walk through it with grace and expansion, and end up in new structures that are outside the box. You see what I'm saying? I have seen it happen so many times where energies that say to me, this is going to be disaster. And I go like, what are the energies? Get the colors out there. And I rewrite it. An example is we were in, we have circles that meet within the Sacred Ground community. We have a circle called Time Travel to help change mass consciousness powerfully. We have crystal broadcasters to intentionally set new frequencies for the future on the values of women. And we have the guardian circles to keep safety for those that are growing new and dissolve that which is not helpful. So in one of those circles, what was it, 2 days before the election, and you may have been on one of those, on that circle, Emma. And one of the women, who was very intuitive, said, I'm really concerned because this person who does astrology, who is very predictive, who has been very accurate, says that Trump is going to win and be in office for another 3 years. Were you on that call, Emma? And we basically said, not in our world, not in our world. And so we took the energy and we wrote it differently. We used our imagination, we used our power and right to design and to decree, and we wrote it differently. And Trump didn't win. That doesn't mean we're over the hump, for sure. There's still, I think there, but nevertheless, just an example of looking at things differently is really, really valuable for this time. So I'm just going to do an overview here quickly. So here in class 1, I pointed out there are some.
I'm sorry, Sharon, could I ask a question first?
Yes, certainly can.
So you're talking about defining the plan for yourself based on
whatever I believe, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, for our purposes, based on galactic history.
Yes, yes.
Where does, and I know that there are an infinite number of words for this concept, where does source fit in here? Where does, what people would say God's plan, and I'm not talking about it in terms of the small God's plan, but where and how does that fit in your understanding of the whole galactic game board?
I'll show you. Oops. In the galactic game board, source is up here where the families existed before they individualized, before they emerged. That to me is source. And in source, there is there's no, everything's possible, everything's present. So it's like anything we wanted to create, basically good for good, however, existed in source. Okay, but source did not make a plan. It has all the energies, all the intelligence that we can pull in to create with, but it does not have the aspect of creating an agenda. So that's one of the reasons that groups of consciousnesses coalesced around an idea. What would it be like? Here's Galactic Family number 1, right here, the green. What would it be like to have direct experience about love? What would it be to have a direct experience around joy? I mean, these are words we put to it. So up there, it's more like a harmonic or a song. But in order to have a direct experience or have an agenda for an experience, we burst from source. Now, so source up here is what we draw from, that is unlimited good. That's in the galactic world.
So there's no direct relationship with it.
There's no direct relationship of it has an agenda for us. the closest we have to source and an agenda for us is our divine star family. So this is where we begin to hold an idea or make a plan for as some type of experience as we have birthed from source. Source says, here's everything's available. And we say, great, out of all that's available, this is our plan, our agenda. And so when I talk about the plan, the agenda of the star families were all experiences of good. And that's our plan, to experience those. And then things happen to us because we invited the outsiders in, or they snuck in, that they corrupted our clear agenda and made it very, very crippled, co-opted. So one of the plan we're working on right now is based on our right and our choice to experience good. That's never gone away. We didn't at any point say, I want to experience narcissism. I want to experience, we didn't do that. What still exists is our original intention to experience an aspect of our home or of source of good. Then we got all swirled around, limited, etc., survival. So this plan for Earth is the next level that I tie into, is that I'm a part of this plan to be on this planet where energy is manifested in order to really taste, sense, smell, know what is good, what's a reflection of good, of our agenda, and what is an expression of the outsider entrapment, in order to remove the outsiders, not just to, oh yeah, my gosh, yes, that's what they're doing, and oh my gosh, scream holy moly, because they've got some people down in the tunnel. And I mean, you've got that kind of awareness going on out in the world, and they call them conspiracy theorists. It's not that those things aren't happening, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here to say, that particular energy, that particular agenda is a reflection of an agenda to trap, to diminish, to use voyeuristically, and it cannot be here. So I put those two together for my plan, and then I can call on source, especially my divine family source, who can then pull in more energy, because the family, the star family, is a point of a collective community that has an intention to use the energy in a certain way. That's not source. Source has the energy, is the energy, all of the energy. But these families have set an intention to use and experience the energy in a specific way. Does that clear it up a little bit?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And so, what plan are you on board with? And I want to start with the bigger plan, because then I want to know where, especially right here, right now, it's like, this is the bigger plan. Are my teams aligned to the bigger plan? And because I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Now, here's the bigger plan. It's a big landscape. It's going to take lots of pieces. Then I can say, where is the best place for me to play? And that's my game board. It's my little project. Where's the best place for me to play on the bigger plan, within the bigger plan? Yeah.
Like, you are amazing, Sharon. Like, you are a godsend to me, like, seriously. And I see what they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will arise. Where my life has been on a roller coaster since April. I mean, so much has happened. My job I lost. Me and my husband not together. Me and Audrey, like, not having a place to live, and this is another thing that this guy, Ralph Smart, says, not to bring him up.
Yeah.
But even though all this was going on, I felt nothing. I just was able to jump from the next to the next to the next and just be like, people are looking at me that know me like, how are you doing this? You know, and it's a lot of it is because of what you prepared me with these tools. And I understand what you're saying. It's pulling, now I understand what you're saying about source and the star families. What's my agenda? What's my purpose here? And every time since I've been on this roller coaster ride since April and being out of my house since August, it's me living in my purpose and not paying attention to all of this. That's not saying that I'm not paying attention to it, but staying focused, staying centered, because I know I'm living in my purpose, which is in my way, my tools of eradicating this parasitic energy from the world, the way spirit does, my name being spirit, like with meeting with different women, by bringing joy, by being a inspirational speaker and Reiki. And like you, I just can't stop commending you. And the more and more you explain it, it's like, whoa, Sharon, we need to get you like on the media. You're muted.
Thank you, Spirit. It's, you know, it's like each of us have a role to play, and we play it well, and then we play it well, and we play it well. And I was on a call with a group dealing with domestic violence, serious domestic violence. And these women, and I'm only on the call as a student to see what this particular teacher has to say. She's great. And to get out of the entrapment in your mind of abuse is one thing, and it takes a lot. I'm not working there. She is. But it leaves a person, and I'll say a person, mostly it's women, in a place of what they call cognitive dissonance and PTSD, which means that they don't trust themselves. Cognitive dissonance says, this is what I thought is true, but I've been so ravaged that I don't think I even know what's true or who I am, or that my experience, it leaves them mentally just unhinged. In addition, they've got these experiences within their energy field that every time somebody says a word, they get triggered. Every time somebody looks at them wrong, they get triggered. And so PTSD, right? And so I'm listening to these women who have done a lot of work and a lot of study just to get back to who they are to some degree. But they're saying to the teacher, how long does it take to get back to myself and be stable? That's what you alluded to. You see this going on, you're walking through, but you're not being triggered. You're walking through it because you've done inner work. So the messages that trigger brings isn't necessary for you. Where these women are going like, oh my gosh, and bless that teacher. It's not, she's doing her part, but she's saying to them, it will take years. And I'm just going like, oh my God, how can I let them know, And sometimes they'll know when they know, and so right now, who is here, who is listening, who's asking questions, who's benefiting is my perfect partners. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. And I love it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull up another thing from our handout, and it's the timeline. Because another thing is, and this is, as you probably remember, this is the timeline. Well, look at that. That's just in the last, let me see where I've got the timeline even better. This is a better timeline. So here's a timeline. So let's say that our original mission group, because we are a mission group, came into the physical Earth bodies, say 600,000 years ago. Whatever the body was that we designed, we walked with that body. And when in that bodysuit, we walked around to see where's the good place to be on the planet. How do we function on this planet? How does this bodysuit function? We just did a lot of evaluations until we were discovered. The female was discovered here, and the bodysuit was crippled. And then the outsiders made plans to replace the bodysuit here. So that by 40,000 years ago, our original mission force with connections to our divine families, all secured, had disappeared. Okay, so now we are functioning the best we can with a crippled body, with parasitics, outsiders around guiding the show. And so here we have some female statues, some goddess statues, some remnants, or maybe some remembrance of, or maybe a group that came to say, here came, from our home to say, we're going to land and we're going to remind you of the power of women. But you see, it's trying to remind us, getting us up to speed in a very, very toxic, corrupted system. But here's a reminder. And then it went downhill, and now we have the bigger expression of outsider rule in the form of what we call patriarchy. This is simply a more visible expression of this outsider crippling way up here. This is not new. It's like Trump isn't new, but he's a bigger expression of what we had forgotten was there. It's the same thing. So here's the big coming out of patriarchy, right? And then you have the violence continuing to be military. Some myths begin to appear, then the story of Christ. And I can't remember now. I don't have it on this one. Let me see if I've got it on another one, where the earliest indications, here it is. Do you see that? 25,000 years ago was the earliest indication of the word God. So that's why for me, I cannot use the word God. It's too reflective of the gods of the outsider God. I can use the word good to represent home, but I can't use the word God. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't, because you could also say, and God to me means, this is what it means, but you would want to not be limited here. You would want to say, and when I'm going to represent the word God, means all the possibilities, which is source. You see, source had no agenda but to be so totally supportive of choice. And for me, good is the same. It supports me in my choice. And so you define what that means for you, and then you use the word. One of our friends, and you probably know her, Kelly, she reclaimed the word work, W-O-R-K. Weaving our right knowing. Weaving our right knowing. Isn't that beautiful? Now I also reclaim God by saying grace of the divine. You see, we can take back those things. We can put different vibrations in place. But if you see the bigger picture, you can see that, my gosh, I don't have to bump up against patriarchy. I don't even have to bump up against the fact that the goddess was destroyed. I can go back to source, and I understand because I can picture it, and I can say, God, is that all it is? Everything's possible. Total support of good. You see, it gives you some flexibility to write your story in a more expansive way. Any comments?
That was beautiful. And it's so funny that you said that, because everything that was kind of meant to entrap me in some levels, like dates of marriage, Independence Day, the divine has been doing things on those days that making it epic for me to flip it all around and make it into a sacred day, taking back my independence, my power. So I get exactly what you're saying, adjusting into my game board, which is, wow, this is deep. I'm so excited about the class coming up. I'm so excited.
What we've been doing, we've been playing on a game board without even questioning the game board. So we've been playing on a game board based on beliefs that we had as children, that was given to us by our parents, some unconscious stuff we brought in. And so we've been playing on this crippled game board without questioning and without even knowing maybe there's a different way of seeing things. So now part of the evaluation, even for me, is like, what's the game board now that is mine to play? The landscape is what it is, but it's changed too. It's changing too. It's like the landscape used to include that the male bodysuit carried 2 ownership chips. So the male body was absolutely owned by the outsiders. That was just what had happened in the galactic worlds. Is the soul, each of us as souls were owned. So in order to get one soul free enough to have authority, half of our souls family put their chip on the table, if you will, and those who are going to go in male bodysuits pick up the extra chip. So it used to be that the male bodysuit was owned by the parasitic. That's why you have males throughout history that are the destroyers, that are the rapers, that are the witch hunters, etc., because they were being absolutely had to obey that voice of outsider ownership. Well, those chips that we have made so many changes that we went back and we changed the plan because the ownership marks in the galactic worlds had already been eliminated. So we went back and changed the plan that says there's no ownership marks to even be brought in. So therefore, freeing the male body from having to listen to and obey the outsider voice, you see. So, I mean, there's changes in the galactic landscape, very powerful changes just within the last year and a half. That's why, having conversations through the next year, there might be something that we have to deal with now that 6 months down the road, it's gone because we have claimed it gone and been powerful enough to have it dismantled, gone. It will be an exciting time. I think it will be really an exciting, powerful time. So any questions or anything you want to bring to the table here as we get close to closing?
Something I did before me and my husband got into that spook that let me out of the house in August.
Yeah.
And it was because you were saying game board during that time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And literally 2 nights before that ordeal happened, I sat in my bed and I can still see myself back against the headboard. And I said, I'm buying a chessboard. You play chess. I said, there's no opponents on this chessboard. So I'm knocking off the opposition. And then I actually said, I'm knocking off all the pieces and just placing the queen back on the chessboard. And then next, you know, I ended up out my house.
There you go.
And I told that to my girlfriend, like after it happened, she was like, Tisha, why did you do it like that? You didn't have to construct all this chaos in your life to get your game boy to where you wanted it to be. Now for now, and this is where these reality statements that all this, like instead of me just being a little wild child out there just knocking pieces off.
Yeah. Pretty interesting, huh? That's really great. It's really great.
Sharon, what's your vision for this next year? I like to ask the little questions.
I was just going to say, have I even approached that yet? I haven't considered a vision beyond creating as effective and efficient a space for community to be together in learning, applying it as it relates to this. Again, I'm totally committed to the galactic landscape, and seeing people come into that community in ways that best serve them to get through what it is they are going through. One of the driving factors I've had in my life is, how can I leave this information for my grandchildren? You know, how can I leave this for my grandchildren? And what's really interesting is I think it was Christmas Eve, Christmas night, or maybe it was the next day, my oldest granddaughter, who is now a mother, so I have a great grandson, said, Grandma, I'm just sending you something by way of email. And this was like, she was in Central Time, and so I'm in Pacific Time, and that was like 9 o'clock, which means 11 o'clock her time. I'm going, this is really strange. Well, so, you know, I thought, okay. And she said, I'm sending it by way of email. An hour or so later, and I'm busy, you know, doing my night thing. And she said, what, did it come? Did it come? And I'm going like, I haven't checked. So what she did is she had found this product called Storyworth. And Storyworth, I think that's the name of it. Storyworth sends you a question a week that you answer the question. And then over the year, you know, it's a year-long thing. And then over the year, you answer these questions, you answer these questions, you answer these questions. And then at the end of the year, they put it into a bound book for you and the person who has given you the gift. Well, what she had done is she'd recruited the other grandkids to give me that gift with the intention, because they are the ones who add questions. So it was like, this is a better idea. What are the questions they have? And so one of the questions is, why were you given the name you were given? You know, they're not going to say like, oh my gosh, do you see the galactic? What do you see in the galactic worlds? They're going to ask questions meaningful to them. And so I thought that takes care of that desire that I had, you know, and the other is, I just want this information put in a form that is so usable and so supportive. And my hope, which would be, I guess, the vision, my hope is that we pull it off, you know, because I know there's a great portion of us who are already on that game board to some degree, that game board of new, outside the box, working together with values. And so I just want to be a part of that. Yeah.
I just sent you somebody's name, Sharon. I know I mentioned to you before I was part of this 12-day conference to get my feet wet. There's this guy. I friend request him on Facebook, and just tell him that you know me. When I text him later tonight, I'll give him your name as well. But he's putting together a global movement on all the different sectors of life. Sectors of the world, like economics, justice, food, all the sectors, trying to bring it back to balance that helps humanity.
Yeah.
And like I met him through Audrey, and he's putting together a lot of big names, and he's about this mission of bringing peace on earth. He's really about it. So I think you and him together, you already working your magic. He's working his magic, but for the whole global movement, this information that you have in conjunction of what he's doing, like just even set him up for a conversation just to see where it goes. Because like it was a 12-day convergence, and this is not his first one, but he's really, I don't want to explain it wrong, but he's really doing a lot of work.
I know of him. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, so I will follow up on that.
Okay.
And what's really exciting to me is that there are more and more who have a similar, it's like, how many voices do we need doing a similar thing? Thousands.
Exactly.
Thousands. So I will. I definitely, because I know of him and his work. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, my friends. So I would say be with guidance for sure. Claim the plan you want to be a part of. Even if you've done it before, energy has so changed. Just claim what plan you want to be a part of. My intended kickoff date was January 11th to say, okay, roll out. This is what's coming. And I may meet that deadline, I may not, but as soon as I have that rollout ready, I'm going to let you guys, I'll let everybody know so that they can say, oh, that might be interesting, or it might not be interesting, or whatever. But yes, Emma, I can see you.
You could see a question for me. Is it going to be like a once a week class and evenings or mornings?
It's going to be
how are you going to do that?
It's going to be a membership site, Emma.
Mm-hmm.
And on the membership site, there'll be things that are free. Like this class will be probably a free class because it's a basic. And there'll be lots of opportunities. And the Galactic class will be part of the premier membership, which will probably be like $44 a month, something like that. And right now, the way I'm looking at it is still it's being formed, because initially I thought it'd be once a week class. But I'm going like, I don't know. We might do 3 weeks and partner week. I don't know. It's still forming, and things are changing as far as other activities and circles. And so it's still in its not formed state. Initially, I thought once a week, but I don't know for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, there'll be lots of, but building the community, building encouragement, is a major part of why I'm doing what I'm doing. So there you are, my friends.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah.
I love it. So this is our last week until you inform us of the next one. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, but look at, isn't this the perfect time to stay inward for a bit longer?
Yeah, it really is.
So
It really is.
we need that kind of time. So it's been delightful. And I know we're just going to keep moving forward because I want to see what emerges with us all together, the continuing emerging. So much love.
Much love. Love you guys. Everyone have a good time. See you next year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year,
Yes.
everybody.
You guys.
All right, bye-bye.